Inspector General of Police briefs Senate on community policing policy. U.S. announces fresh $40 million aid to Nigeria to fight Boko Haram. In international news, global scientists join China in fighting cure for coronavirus. And in sport, former international Daniel Amokachi appointed Nigeria's football ambassador.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu has briefed the Senate on the concept and practical implementation modalities of community policing policy. Adamu, along with Presidential Special Advisor on National Assembly Matters Babajide Omorare, appeared before the Senate on the urgent need to restructure, review, and reorganize security apparatus in the country. Senate President Ahmed Lawan says the meeting was an important part of efforts by the National Assembly in finding lasting solutions to the deteriorating security situation in the country. United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced an additional 14 billion naira aid to Nigeria to address the humanitarian crisis arising from decades of the Boko Haram insurgency. Last year, the U.S. had provided more than $100 billion in aid. Pompeo announced this during a joint media briefing with Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Yama after the U.S. National Binational Commission hosted by the U.S. Department of State. Pompeo also advised the Nigerian government to do more to protect its civilians, including religious communities and the humanitarian organizations seeking to assist them. The Binational Commission is a platform for Nigerian and U.S. government to expand cooperation and advance shared goals in the areas of trade and investment, good governance and security.
I'm announcing today that the United States and Nigeria have signed an agreement to return to the Nigerian people more than $308 million in assets stolen by a former dictator. Nigeria was one of the first African nations to join the global coalition to defeat ISIS. America is now supporting the Nigerian fight against ISIS's larger global affiliate, ISIS West Africa, a dangerous threat to both of our countries.
Leadership of the House of Representatives has decided to meet with all relevant stakeholders and diplomatic missions to ensure removal of U.S. visa restrictions placed in the country. House members blamed the federal government for not acting on U.S. warnings that could have prevented the sanction. Representative Tajuddin Yusuf, who moved the motion, says Nigeria was unable to meet the deadline for performance metrics, identity management, and information sharing criteria because of the tardiness of some government agencies and officials, unlike Chad, which acted on time and was exempted from the restrictions. Another member, Segios Ogun, corroborated by saying the federal government had 2 years to meet the criteria but did not. The House jointly urged the executive branch to expedite necessary actions that might lead to the review or cancellation of the immigration restriction. Nigeria is the only West African country sanctioned by the U.S. Department of Home Security following a review and update of the methodology performance metrics. Eritrea, Yemen, Tanzania, Sudan were also on the list. Ekiti State former Governor Ayodele Fayose has asked the federal government to rehabilitate the Akure-Ado-Ekiti Expressway. Fayose says the road's deplorable state is worrisome and needs urgent intervention. The former governor says the road holds a huge economic value to both Ondo and Ekiti State, but it has now become a source of constant severe hardship for Nigerians. Fayose wrote a letter to Minister for Works Babatunde Fayishola, appealing that he gives the road the required attention as it has now become a hideout for criminals and a death trap for civilians. There are many talented persons out there who are creating breathtaking works of art that are getting noticed globally. But the diverse art world also harbors some talents that are not easily recognized. In this story, Kelechi Mekalam tells us the story of Nigerian artist Eli Waduba, who has hit gold in his pencil art.
Stroke after stroke, shade after shade, and color after color. 27-year-old Eli Waduba brings every artwork to life with his pencil. The Nigerian-born hyperrealism artist makes his drawings look exactly like a photographic image. It's a passion he's exhibited from childhood.
I discovered my talent since when I was very little. Then I used to draw in my notebooks, back of my notebooks, and sometimes I had a notebook that was just meant for drawing. So back then I used Biro to draw. When I was in primary school, I draw cartoons, I draw most war movies and all that.
But art wasn't a favorable career path at the time. Many artists like Eli had to drop their artworks and resort to other things to earn a living.
Another thing here is a lot of people were aspiring to be engineers, a lot of people were aspiring to be architects, a lot of people were aspiring to be medical doctors. And I was just thinking, I wasn't seeing a future in art. So I was trying to be like them.
But Eli never gave up completely. He became an internet sensation in 2019 after his skillful painting of American comedian and actor Kevin Hart went viral. The famous celebrity paid for his works and contracted Eli for more jobs, launching a childhood hobby into a lucrative international enterprise.
At first it was quite challenging trying to make it a business. Then I can take a whole month without seeing a customer. But after my recognition, the inflow was very high, and even up till now, I cannot even handle all the customers.
Now there seems to be an awakening of the world's interest in modern contemporary Nigerian art. Nigerian artists have made nearly $6 million from 9 auctions alone. The country is currently encouraging creativity and innovation as a pathway to economic independence. And Eli's story is inspiring many more young talents to take up the once forgotten career.
Coming up, African stories. Libya conflict takes toll on Tunisia's economy. And later, international news. Global efforts to find cure for coronavirus. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now we'll look at some stories across Africa. Angolan authorities say the suspected case of coronavirus in the country has turned out to be negative. They say the result of samples sent to South Africa showed there was no presence of the virus. ANN had reported last week that blood samples of a Chinese patient admitted to a clinic in Luanda with what authorities believed were symptoms of coronavirus were sent to South Africa for a laboratory analysis. Chinese ambassador to Angola, Gonton, told the press no Angolan was infected with the virus across China and in the city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. More than 50 Angolans reside in the city. The ambassador said China has the financial and medical capacity to respond to the problem. He said interaction between Chinese and Angolan people has decreased considerably because of coronavirus. The desert locust invasion continues to wreak havoc on farmland and grassland across East Africa. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization says the swarms could soon threaten widespread food production. Authorities are responding with aerial spraying of pesticides, but experts say the scale of the infestation is beyond local capacity. Somalia has declared a national emergency. Abdulaziz Bilo has the details.
Somalia has declared a national emergency following a massive locust infestation in most parts of the country, the worst to hit the Horn of African nation in quarter a century. Experts say a large swarm of desert locust has in recent months consumed huge amounts of crops, placing people and livestock at great risk. Mogadishu says it is not prepared to handle the locust invasion that is expected to worsen, especially during the upcoming harvest season.
The locust invasion hit us by surprise. For close to 3 decades, Somalia never saw such an infestation. The government does not have the capacity to contain the invasion. Most of our locust control centers were destroyed during the war. The latest invasion is worrying because we fear it might return during the harvest season.
Speaking in Mogadishu during a launch of a food security and nutrition analysis unit in Somalia, experts say that millions of dollars is needed to tackle the infestation in East Africa.
The appeal that the FAO has launched globally, but for the 3 countries that for now have witnessed locust infestation, which are Somalia, Kenya and Ethiopia, is up to 76 million US dollar. This figure is likely to increase as the movement of the locust and the projections evolve rapidly.
Recent estimates put the number of humanitarian cases to 4.1 million people, with quarter the number in dire need of urgent humanitarian assistance. Locust invasion has affected farmers in central Somalia and pastoralists towards the north. The government and its donors are now concerned of a new invasion in the coming weeks.
The infestation is widespread and it could cause significant damage potentially for the coming harvest, also the pasture in pastoral areas, as well as the dairy season towards the end of the year. So it is a significant risk that needs to be addressed through a continued close monitoring of the situation, as well as urgent scaling up of control measures.
Authorities say the desert locusts originating from the Red Sea flocked into East Africa after ideal conditions were created following a recent successful rainy season in all 3 countries. Analysts have expressed concerns about the government's ability to tackle the locust menace. Meanwhile, the infestation is expected to hit the country again in April as farmers prepare to harvest their crops.
Tunisia has been harboring many refugees from its southern neighbor, Libya, patrolling to the country in search of safety. The conflict in general has had some effect on the country's economy. Now Tunisia is feeling it even more. Reporter Adnin Chawoji has the story.
Experts noted that when Tunisia decided to stay away from the Libyan political scene, other countries like Turkey managed to take up a leading role in the country. This has seriously impacted Tunisian-Libyan trade.
Before 2014, Tunisian agri-food products used to dominate Libyan markets. Today, however, Turkey has replaced us. 80% of the products that are currently available in Libyan supermarkets are Turkish.
Bilateral trade reached $636 million in 2014, against $884 million in 2011. Tunisia's trade volume with Libya reached $600 million in 2019.
Libya was one of the most important markets in Africa for Tunisian investors and companies. Insecurity reigns and the climate of investment does not encourage business in the neighboring country. The situation improved in 2019, but it is not enough.
The governor of the Central Bank of Tunisia stressed the need to boost Tunisian-Libyan trade so as to achieve the same results of 2010.
In 2010, Libya was Tunisia's second client after the European Union. In addition, we used to import fuel from Libya in exchange for other products made in Tunisia, and over 150,000 Tunisian workers earned a living on Libya soil in 2010.
Experts argue that it is unacceptable that Tunisia has not appointed any ambassador to Libya so far, while many countries have created an office under the presidency of the Republic, which is exclusively in charge of economic affairs with Libya. Economists believe that in the absence of a clear economic recovery plan with Libya, Tunisia risks to permanently lose this market within the next 5 years. The Union of Industry has urged the government to take urgent measures.
When we return, international news, global efforts to find cure for coronavirus, and later, sport. Former international Daniel Amokachi appointed Nigeria's football ambassador. Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the international front, China is doing all it can to stem the spread of the novel coronavirus that has more than 3,000 cases now reported in the country. Chinese factories are running at full steam to meet the soaring demand for medical supplies to tackle the virus outbreak. Many Chinese workers who have been on holidays for the Lunar New Year celebrations were recalled to work, like Fu Gugun, a factory worker in Hainan province. In order to accelerate the production of negative pressure quarantine ambulance that is in short supply at the moment for the transportation of severe patients with novel coronavirus pneumonia, Yutong Bus Company recalled 200 workers in Shenzhen City, capital of Hainan province. Within 10 days, they had produced 35 ambulances that have been deployed across the country. A factory in Ruan City in East China's Xinjiang province has asked its workers to step up production of spandex filament, one of the raw materials used in producing masks and protective clothes. And a factory in Lokon City in East China's Shandong province just has donated 10 tons of disinfectant to frontline hospitals. And the story continues as China steps up efforts to produce urgently needed medical supplies to combat the virus. But the rest of the scientific world is not just looking at China as it works on finding the cause of the coronavirus and combating it. But many scientists around the world are also continuing their research in the hope they can put a stop to the novel coronavirus. One American university that has joined the effort is Purdue University in the U.S. state of Indiana. Dan Williams visited that lab and found this report.
Scientists work around the clock searching for a breakthrough to stop the new coronavirus.
We fear most what we don't understand, and we're at a point where we don't understand.
Professor Andrew Metakar is head of the Department of Biochemistry at Purdue University.
We don't have to work at this level with the infected virus. We can work with a piece of it, which is completely safe.
He and his team are examining the atomic structure of the coronavirus that originated in Wuhan, China, and comparing it to the SARS virus that first surfaced in China in 2002, that spread to 37 countries, resulting in more than 750 deaths.
When we pull up those gene sequences from the two, they're over 95% identical, which suggests that their structures are also going to be 95% identical.
It was here in this laboratory that scientists made a key breakthrough in the research of the Zika virus. They were the first to determine its molecular structure. The focus now is on scoring a similar breakthrough with the new coronavirus.
Yeah, blow that up around here, the green.
The team is mapping out the proteins of the virus with the aim of finding a weak spot where medication can intervene and stop the virus from replicating in humans.
So these coronaviruses need these enzymes, what are proteases, in order to replicate and keep the virus alive. So what we're trying to do is to develop drug molecules that will target those enzymes, knock out their activity, so that when they knock out their activity, the virus will no longer replicate.
Despite the continuing spread of the virus, Metakar has been impressed with China's response to the health crisis.
Just unfathomable, I think, in the history of humanity of a response like this. It's, I think, you know, for me, the United States has not seen something like this. So we're all going to learn from how China is responding.
One development to occur since the coronavirus began is the public sharing of information by scientists, allowing researchers around the world to make a contribution and move the process forward more quickly to find a cure.
Up next, sport. Former international Daniel Amokachi appointed Nigeria's football ambassador. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed 47-year-old Super Eagles legend Daniel Amokachi as Nigeria's football ambassador. He will assist the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development in scouting and mentoring players in its quest to revive the development of football in the country. Amokachi was a member of the 1994 Super Eagles squad that won Nigeria's first African Nations Cup title in Tunisia. Upon his retirement, Amokachi managed Nasarawa United and Enyimba. He also served as Nigeria's assistant coach to Shoaibu Amodu and Stephen Keshi. Super Eagles former striker Odion Igalo will wear jersey number 25 during his stay in Manchester for the rest of the season. Igalo is on a 6th loan switch from Shanghai Shenhua. The 30-year-old grew up as a United fan, idolizing Dwight York and Andrew Cole. He scored 16 times in 55 Premier League appearances for Watford before moving to Shenhua Utah 2 years ago and then Shanghai Shenhua 2 years later.
I'm very happy. First, I want to say I thank God for making this happening, and it's just like a dream come true for me because I love Man United. I support them when they play, even when we play against them. Now it's reality, so I'm very happy and I'm looking forward to start.
That is in news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, ANNAfrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.